Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, where it's all about creating the life you want, the business you want, and making a real difference. Join us in unlocking the code to true success. And now your host, Tony Caliendo, Master Coach with Rethink Coaching.
Welcome to the Mindset Architect Podcast, episode number 57. I'm Tony Caliendo, Master Coach here at Rethink Coaching. And as always, I want to thank you for sharing your time with me. Time truly is our greatest asset, and the fact that you're willing to share and invest your time with me truly does mean a great deal. So thanks so much for being here. You know, as always, I want to acknowledge the fact that you're here, you're investing in yourself, and you're willing to take just a moment to learn something or hear something that you've heard before in a different way that will help you on your journey to having a bigger, a better, a more fulfilling business, or to create the life that you've always dreamt of and that you would like to have and not experience either your business or your life by default. You know, we can be intentional about what we receive from our business and our life. So I am grateful that you're here with me today. I want to talk about a couple of things today that are really, really critical and fundamental, yet get overlooked so much because we are so busy in the daily that we don't pause sometimes just to pay attention. So I don't know about you or what part of the world or the country or state that you live in. I live in a state right now in its high desert, and there are a lot of changes going on. Crisper mornings, cooler nights, aspen leaves are changing. A lot of stuff is happening. And if I didn't pause to pay attention and to just watch what's going on around, I'd miss the spectacular thing that I call fall. And I would be that person that would wake up on Thanksgiving morning and say, gosh, how did it get to be Thanksgiving? I can't believe it's November, whatever. If you're here in the States, that's what we'll be celebrating last part of November. You kind of wake up and it's like stuff has happened to you because you weren't paying attention. And so that's what is happening now in some other areas of what you need as a human being to show up and run the business that you want, or to show up and have the life that you want, if we don't pay some attention. So I want to talk about our basic human needs. And we've touched on these, but I really want you to hear them differently. For those of us who are in the business space, a lot of times we tend to forget that we are not a machine that is operating our business. We're a human being that is operating the business. Whether you're a CEO, whether you're in charge of marketing, whether you're a direct salesperson, whatever you are in business, you are not a machine. And there are some human needs that will impact your overall results as a business owner, business operator, and human being if we do not pay attention. So I want to talk about 4 of them today: certainty, connection, growth, and contribution. Those are 4 of my favorite human needs. There's a few more, but we're going to focus on these today because when you start to pay attention to these things, everything else falls into place. You start to feel more connected to your business, to your life. You start to feel more aware of what is going on around you. And there's a sense of peace that will come over you because on an unconscious level, you are craving, seeking these things. So we may not be aware that that is happening in the background. And in the forefront, we're going through our life in our conscious state, but we're feeling less than, or we're feeling disconnected, or we're feeling that we're not moving in the right direction because we're craving something that's missing. I look about it like a vitamin. You know, I don't know if you've ever done any studies on the human body, and when it has a craving for something, it's usually because of nutritional deficiency, and it's your body's way of kind of letting you know what's happening. I want you to think about these 4 needs that we have as human beings that are doing the same thing. And if we ignore them, like if we ignored our body about foods that it was craving, or even just water from thirst, we are going to set ourselves up to not operating at our full potential, just like your body won't operate at its full potential if it's missing key nutrients in it. So I want to talk about certainty. That's my number one favorite need for us to spend some time on. And if you think about it, just the word, right? Certainty. It's a knowing, it's a clear path, or it's a clear understanding, is how I look at certainty. And it's incredibly important because, like I said, you typically don't wake up in the morning and say, oh my gosh, today I'm going to go find certainty. I'm going to set off to go create certainty, and I know my body's craving it. We typically don't do that, but on an unconscious level, your brain, your mind, your thoughts are craving it. And without it, this is the one that I think could have the greatest impact on us for our ability to move forward. And so if you think about certainty from a business owner, business operator perspective, it's important because we can create certainty. So if we're lacking it, like we're lacking a vitamin, we can take a pill or we can eat a food that has the nutrient in it to make the body happy. We can do the same thing here to make the unconscious happy and get your unconscious and conscious mind in alignment for great things. So I would say, number one, ask yourself if you feel certain about your future, if you feel certain about your business, if you feel certain about the direction you're going, if you feel certain about how you're going to get there. That's typically where we lack certainty. But what we tend to do is just head on in as business owners, entrepreneurs, realtors. We just head on into action thinking that's going to create the certainty. When the reality of it is, if you don't do this with intention, you can actually cause more uncertainty and actually create a bigger problem for yourself. So how do I create certainty? Number one is to have clear goals. And you'll hear me say this, and again, I think it's going to be tattooed on me at some point somewhere, crystal clear. Are you crystal clear on your goals? Not just financial goals, but the big picture goals, your 1, 3, and 5 year goals. Do you know exactly what those goals are? And then have you taken the time to break down how you're going to achieve those goals rather than just work hard? Have you broken it down to the simple? I always say this, if a 15-year-old kid from high school were to walk in, would they be able to, with clarity, know your goal and exactly how you're going to get there without having to ask a lot of questions? That's how I want you to chunk this down, to think about, could I give this to a 15-year-old and have them understand? And breaking it down means, so for example, if you're a real estate agent, real estate leader, and you've got a goal to sell 100 homes this year, right? That's our big goal. Have you broken it down to exactly what the mix of business was going to be? What percent are going to be buyers? What percent are going to be sellers? Then have you broken that down into how many appointments do I need to go on? And have you broken that down to how many conversations do I need to get to an appointment? And then have you looked at, from when I take a listing or get a buyer representation signed, what percentage of those will convert? That's what I mean by breaking it down. You're breaking it down to the stupid, I like to call it. You're breaking it down to the simple. Like, I know exactly what I have to do to get to that goal. It's reverse engineering, right? I want to sell a house. This is my chance of converting from listing to listing sold. I have to go on how many appointments to get a listing, and how many phone conversations do I need to have to get to a listing appointment, then to a listing, then listing sold. So really, really, really breaking it down. And then the piece that we don't love, and I don't even like to mention the word, but part of clarity is accountability, or as I like to call it, awareness. Are you clear and aware of what it's going to take? So are you measuring those things? So once we have the goal broken down and we're looking to create clarity, are you measuring? Are you measuring the daily activities? Are you measuring what you're doing compared to what you said you were going to do? Are you truly measuring actions and results, lead and lag? Are you taking a peek at that, right? That's going to create certainty because there's no guesswork. Did I do it? Didn't I do it? How many did I do? I'm not sure. I felt like I did a lot. We're going to get clarity around and measure. And the other thing that creates certainty for you is just to be open to failure. I think that's probably one of the bigger things that we avoid because we don't like the way it feels, like, oh, I failed. But this is another area that's going to bring certainty. So just think about it. If you woke up every day and you had clarity around exactly what you were going to do, that there was such a level of certainty that when you opened up your eyes, you knew what was going to happen. That to me is magic, because that certainty is going to help you move forward. So another part of certainty that I love and is somewhat entrepreneurs tend to be resistant to is schedule. Your schedule can create a ton of certainty for you. And along with the schedule, the other part that I love to do is making all of my decisions the night before. So what do I mean by that? So I've got my schedule, right? I've got my ideal schedule. Now, I'm not unrealistic to think that, life happens, business happens, and sometimes our schedule needs to be altered or corrected. But when I wake up in the morning and I've got my schedule in front of me, and the night before, I've looked at all of the activities that I must do, and I make the decision prior to that next day that this is what I'm going to do. I've kind of killed off all other options, but I really created my schedule and I've made a decision the night before as to what I'm going to do. I relate to make this relatable for you. If you're a parent and you have a kid, or we were all kids at one point, a lot of us, our parents would lay out our outfit the night before, right? And so for me, when I woke up, all I needed to do was eat breakfast, brush my teeth, take a bath or a shower, and all that stuff, the decisions were made. I knew what I was going to wear. It was not like going into a closet trying to figure things out. That's the same thing that you could do for yourself in your business if you make some of those decisions the night before. The other piece of creating certainty by doing this is if one of my activities for the next day that I'm creating certainty around is a sales strategy, do I have everything I need so that when I walk into the office or I walk to my workspace, I don't have to go hunting for the names and numbers. I don't have to go searching for the elements that I need to take the action. So creating certainty in your business is really a lot easier than we think, but a lot of times we don't want to think about that because we feel like it's infringing on some of our freedoms. When the reality of it is, if you're really doing a good job of creating certainty, from clarity on goals, breaking down the goals, being willing to measure the goals, being receptive to failure, to having a schedule, and to deciding the night before exactly what you were going to do, those things create certainty. And I promise you, if you implement these into your practice as a real estate agent, if you're working 5 days a week or 6 days a week, whatever it is that you choose, you're going to show up with a greater sense of certainty. And in my opinion, certainty builds confidence. Certainty creates a path forward for your brain, so it's not struggling to try to guess on the fly. It knows exactly what's expected of it that day, that hour, to get to your goal that you're crystal clear about. So certainty is really, really important in our business and then also in your life. So if you're listening to this and wanting to create a better life, it's the same process. What's the goal? Are you crystal clear? Do you have a way to measure it? Are you following a schedule? Are you creating the schedule? And do you know what you're going to do on those scheduled events? And don't have to give it a whole lot of thought. That certainty is probably one of the biggest gifts you can give to yourself, because it's going to calm down that primitive part of your brain that goes crazy when it's uncertain or feels uncomfortable. So do yourself a favor, focus on certainty. The other thing I'm going to ask you to think about is connection. I think COVID changed a whole lot. A lot of my peers and clients who are in a corporate environment have hybrid work weeks. They can work from home. They can work from home on Mondays and Fridays, whatever it looks like. And I think even though we've got Zoom and you're listening to this podcast, as human beings, which remember, we're not a machine, we're running our businesses and our lives, really can feel isolated and disconnected. And our goal is to feel connected. Again, sometimes this doesn't come to our conscious mind, but it's happening on an unconscious level. We might feel sad or depressed or not motivated or fearful because we've just simply lost connection. And so I cannot stress the importance of connection. Now, I am someone that works from home 100% of the time. 95% of the time. And it can be very isolating if I allow it to be and I don't approach connection with an intention. So for me, I will go to my two favorite coffee shops where I'm living, and I'll work from those spots a couple days a week, typically Monday and Friday. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to connect outside of my bubble and to have human interaction and to be part, because I don't have a corporate office to go to. I've got coaches across the country. I've got people in my organization that don't live in my house with me. And so sometimes we're lacking that in-person connection. So if that's you, right, there's a lot of cloud-based brokerages out there, which are amazing. There's a lot of brokerages that are brick and mortar, but you have to become intentional about how you're going to stay connected. And you can do that through peer groups. You can do what I do, go work at a coffee shop. And I know every staff member, I know a lot of the regular customers that come in. There's a level of connection, which is really, really powerful. So you can create that. There's peer groups. I meet with 2 peer coaching groups every other week. I'm connected to other coaches. I get to have conversation with them of people that are experiencing the same thing as I am. I go to conferences. I'm going to a couple this year that are going to have close to 15,000 people in attendance. And that gets me a sense of connection to a community. If that's not your jam, I would recommend you find maybe some smaller meetups that you could go to, some smaller peer groups that you could be part of, but do something to have connection. And then always have a coach. My 2 coaches right now provide a tremendous feeling of connection. We've got our one-on-one calls. I'm part of a community. I feel very connected. So if you don't have a coach, this is a great way for connection. You have a connection to another human being that's not a client. You get to be the client and you get to connect in a different way and really recharge those batteries so that you feel not isolated on an island. So connection is really, really important. And I think for those of us in a sales capacity, and if you're an entrepreneur, you kind of do everything, right? Like as a coach, I'm also a salesperson. As a coach, I'm also a marketer. As a coach, I'm an operator. I have a lot of hats that I wear. It's really, really important, though, that we don't feel like we're on an island and we connect to people or to organizations that allow us to feel part of something and not isolated or left out of. Connection's a big one. The other thing is growth. You know, I love one of my former bosses, if you will, or mentors. She always made it crystal clear that every human being has opportunity to grow and to learn more, and that we never really slide into home plate with all of the answers. Maybe when life is over, that will be what happens. But while we're living human beings, there's always an opportunity to learn and to grow. And when we don't honor that and we don't become intentional about it, because it's easy to not grow because you get to stay in your comfort zone. When you don't grow, you really do become stagnant. And so again, a great form of growth is having a coach, in particular, a rethink coach, but having a coach is a great way for growth. One of the things that I do every year is I do a 12-month growth plan. And I put down 2 items every month that is going to contribute to my growth. It could be reading a book. It could be going to a conference. It could be networking events, whatever that is going to force me to grow. I become intentional about, and I have a plan. So if you haven't noticed so far, all of these are intentional, strategic, have it on your calendar, have a plan. Growth is no different. If you feel like you don't need to grow anymore, I'm going to invite you to thank your unconscious little primitive brain for trying to keep you safe and debunk that. Growth is amazing. Being uncomfortable is amazing. It changes how you get to show up in your business, in your life. So invest in your education, invest in your training, invest in having a rethink coach. Those are great ways to grow. I know whenever my coaches challenge me to do something different, the overwhelming feeling of discomfort comes up immediately. Yet I know in the end, when I've grown as a human being, when I've grown as a business owner, things change. So have a growth, be intentional about growth as one of your needs and have a plan. So mine's very simple. Like I said, at the beginning of the year, I just lay out the 12 months on a piece of paper and I put down what I'm going to do each month. So in February, there's the National Real Estate Conference. In October, there's 2. Then there's other conferences throughout the year. There's coaching conferences. I'm in coaching training, coaching certifications. I lay all of that out and I make sure that every month has at least 2 growth opportunities. If it doesn't, I put down a book. If it doesn't, I find an event that's happening that month that I could attend that's going to have me grow, not just be the smartest person in the room, be in a room that you're challenged and you've got opportunity to learn. Growth is very, very big. And then the last one, which I think is critically important, is contribution. To feel like you're contributing to the world in a way that's maybe bigger than just your business. And I think about this. I learned from someone really important in my life long ago that if you're ever feeling sorry for yourself or you're ever feeling like you don't have a great life, to go volunteer and contribute and help others in a way, because that's going to satisfy a piece of you that makes you feel good, that you can see some results right away, and that you can be part of a bigger thing. It kind of runs hand in hand with connection, but contribution is different. And yes, I could say I contribute to people's lives every day through coaching, and that's true, but that's my business. I want to look at how I can contribute in a bigger way outside of me, outside of my business. So whether it's volunteering to walk dogs, which is what I do at the local animal shelter, whether it's going and being a participant in one of the fundraisers that helps raise awareness for cancer, for child abuse, whatever that is, contribute. Just the other day, team, I was at a restaurant and our waiter, for whatever reason, I think the universe, God put him in my path, opened up to me that he was really struggling. And I could tell struggling in the way of thinking of harming himself. Now, did I have to give him my phone number? Do I have to go grab a cup of coffee with him? Do I have to check in on him? No, but I'm contributing outside of where I make money. And so think about ways that you can contribute. Volunteer is probably one of the best ways. Be part of a nonprofit organization that you can help create the financial impact for other people. So contribution is another big one. So these 4 are what I'm going to invite you to think about in the immediate. Is how can you create certainty on a high level for yourself, because your unconscious mind is craving it big time. And without it, you're always going to just feel a little off and maybe like you're not moving in the right direction. Connection. Create the space of connection. Don't be that solo person on an island and not feel connected to other people. Growth. Figure out a growth plan. Growing is such a cool thing, and you get to meet amazing people along the way. And then lastly, contribution. How can you contribute to the world in a bigger way than just your business? So if you're a real estate agent, yes, you're contributing by helping people sell and buy. But outside of that, where could you contribute? And last thing I'm going to say about contribution, it's not about just writing a check. Could I write a check to the Santa Fe Animal Shelter? Yes. Is that contributing? Kind of. I'm talking about the contribution where you're going to roll up your sleeves, get in the muck, and make a difference. So those 4 things, team, are what I would invite you to focus on, and just do a self-assessment right now of how are you feeling on certainty? How are you feeling on connection? How do you feel about growth? And lastly, are you contributing? Are you contributing in a way outside of your business that helps you be a better human being and making a difference in the world more than just financial? So as always, if you have any questions, concerns, or you need clarity, please reach out to me, tony@rethinkcoaching.com. If you're looking for connection and growth through a coach, please reach out to me. I would be happy to grab a complimentary 1-hour strategy session where we can just talk and we can see if this would be the right move for you. And if it is coaching, if it's coaching with us at Rethink, or we may refer you to another coaching company, just depending on what you're looking for or what you need. So we're here to help you out. Tony@rethinkcoaching.com, Instagram, Tony M. Caliendo, Facebook, all the usual suspects. Just Google me, you'll find me. I'm always happy to answer any question you might have. Go make it a great day, team, and we'll see you next week. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you must come check out the Mindset Architect Group Coaching Program. It's our monthly program where we explore the power of your mindset, help you identify what you truly want in business and life, and then help you reach those goals. Come check us out at rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. That's rethinkcoaching.com/group-program. We'll see you there.